What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So 6 game ones have gone down thus far. Every single home team won in their game one, and there's a lot to talk about. A lot of different things happened in these game ones. I don't think, besides maybe one series, I think all of these are potentially up for grabs. So I thought it'd be a fun idea to ask you guys for some hot takes. Give me some scorching hot takes. So we're going to go through. I have 14 on the docket to go through. Thank you, everybody that submitted it. Got like over 100, had to whittle it down a little bit. But you guys are the absolute best. So without further ado, let's dive into it. First one might be the hottest of the bunch. Caps take it to 7 games. If this were to happen, Charlie Lindgren's got to play the best hockey of his entire career, which he is playing this season, but he held it down in the first period against the New York Rangers. I just can't see this happening. I think the New York Rangers are too fast, too deep, too explosive, too much star power that I could see 6 games. Maybe he just stands on his head for 2 games, but can he do that for 3 games to get this to a game 7? I don't think it's going to happen. Him and Ovechkin will have to absolutely carry this team. Ovechkin would have to have multiple 2-goal games in order for this to happen. I'm not sure that the Capitals are going to get swept. I could see them taking it to 5, taking it to 6 games, but based on that first game, I'm fairly confident in my initial prediction that the Capitals or the Rangers are going to win this series in 5 games, but I would love to see it. I would love to see this going 7 games and Ranger fans being absolutely terrified entering that game 7 at MSG, possibly one of the most lopsided first round upsets. Because like, although Boston versus Florida last year, that was one of the biggest upsets ever, I could argue that this year was even bigger. This year would be even bigger with the New York Rangers, considering the talent on that Florida team was apparent. They had Kachuk, third in the goddamn Hart, Barkov, Reinhart, Verhaeghe. Washington doesn't really have that stuff. So that would be legendary if the Capitals can somehow pull it off, but I don't see it happening. Let's move on. Next, we got if the Lightning don't get a power play goal a game, they are getting swept. And yes, that would be a similar takeaway that I had from that game one. I think at 5-on-5, Florida did look like the much dangerous team, the far deeper team past those 2 lines for Lightning. They weren't really able to generate a ton of offense. So I think if Tampa cannot capitalize on their power plays, and they are the #1 power play team in the entire NHL, unless similarly to Lindgren, Vasilevsky absolutely carries. I think the series will potentially be over in 5 to 6 games, but I can see the Tampa Bay Lightning producing at a high level on the power play, considering they are #1. So I still think this goes 6, maybe 7 games, because the Lightning are so fantastic on that power play. And at 5-on-5, maybe they'll be able to hold their own for a couple games, and as a result, pick up 2 to 3 wins. Next up, Carolina is beyond mid. And I can see where you're coming from in that first game. The Carolina, they maybe played their CC plus game based on what I've seen from them this season. And the Islanders were looking pretty good. They were pretty aggressive, especially at 5-on-5. I still think Carolina, that was not nearly their best game. When they're playing at their best, I noticed some of their guys, I really didn't notice a ton. Guys like Sebastian Aho, I didn't think had the best first game. Svechnikov was kind of getting into it. I think once they start cooking, once they start going, they're going to probably take care of the New York Islanders in 5 or 6 games and start scoring some goals. They're not the most explosive team, but again, that depth is just so apparent when watching them. Jordan Staal is their third-line center. Jordan Martinook's a great depth player. Orlov's and Chatfield is their best third pair in the entire NHL. They're not the most explosive team, but this team made the Eastern Conference Finals last year by not being the most explosive team. And then you add Jake Gensel to the mix, I think they're going to be perfectly fine. Next up, Annunen comes in and goes full Matt Murray circa 2016. I think every Colorado fan is praying that Annunen's immune system fixes itself, fixes his overall illness, that he wasn't able to play on Sunday, considering he is really the only hope that they have. He is a rookie. He's only 24 years old, but he had a .928 in 13 games in the regular season. So I definitely understand them maybe seeing some Matt Murray parallels, considering Matt Murray was great in the regular season for the Pittsburgh Penguins and then went on that fantastic run. I wouldn't bank on that by any stretch, but entering game 2, if he's even 90%, say he's not 100% cured of his illness, I think you have to go with him, considering just how bad Georgiev was. Next up, we got something on divisional playoffs. Divisional playoffs are way more exciting than 1 versus 8 format. I think it worked out this year just because you got good matchups, especially in the East, or at least 2 of the good matchups with the Battle of Florida and with Toronto versus Boston. I still don't like the divisional seeding just because we get these matchups so often. This is the third time in 4 years that we're getting the Battle of Florida. So although it's fun, I've been there. I've done that. Toronto versus the Leafs, 2018, 2019, and now 2024. And when looking at the Islanders back-to-back years of playing the Carolina Hurricanes, goddamn LA Kings are on their third straight year playing the Edmonton Oilers. I get what you're saying. Sometimes it does create in-division rivalries, but we see it far too much. We're far too overstimulated with these divisional rivalries that it's just boring in my opinion. I'd rather see new matchups that we have not seen, new potential rivalries be formed. I think that would be overall better for the game, although I do get what you're talking about in the sense that we get these potential geographical closer rivalries, teams that hate each other considering they share a state or are very close to each other. I get what you mean by that, but I can't personally agree. Ullmark is the clear starter. I don't know how you could say that. I thought Jeremy Swayman, although the Leafs weren't dominant offensively, I thought he played a pretty damn good game. I think he stopped 35 out of 36. So in looking at him, I would give Ullmark game 2. I would do that. I would stick with the tandem. I would stick with the rotation. It does so well in the playoffs. We saw last year it didn't really work. They rolled with Ullmark, and then he kind of shit the bed at the end. So I personally would continue to roll the tandem until someone has a stinker, let's say below an 890, 888 save percentage. Then maybe you go with that other guy for a couple games. But if it's not broke, don't fix it. Ullmark definitely should get game 2, in my opinion. Willie, maybe by the time that this video posts, it's already came out that Swayman or Ullmark are getting game 2. But right now, I would continue with the tandem, especially if they go up 2-0. Keep them fresh. Keep them rotating. Just don't mess it up. You saw what happened last year. Keep it the way it is. Adam Lowry is one of the most underrated players in the entire league. It's funny because yesterday I saw the classic Kyle Connor's most underrated player in the NHL. And I understand you saying that he's underrated in terms of star players, but everybody acknowledges that he's an elite player. That's what I absolutely hate when people act like this star player is the most underrated. No, he's not. But I think Adam Lowry does have a decent case for being one of the most underrated players in the entire NHL, considering his third line center role. I know it doesn't get talked about. It's not the most glamorous position, but in terms of that role, a gritty, physical, two-way guy, there's really not much better than Adam Lowry. Is he ever going to be a star 65, 70-point second line center? No, he's 28, 29 at this point. He knows what he is, and he just absolutely accelerates. And I thought he was fantastic for the Winnipeg Jets in that first game. So yeah, I guess I can agree that he might be one of the most underrated players. Not Kyle Connor. Kyle Connor is one of the most underrated stars, not one of the most underrated players in the entire NHL. Stop that nonsense. It is annoying. There will be 2 to 3 suspensions out of the Rangers versus Capitals series. I agree with this, especially the Capitals go down 3-0, go down 3-1. They're going to go out swinging. Tom Wilson's going to be throwing the body. Maybe he can get a Ranger to bite, and they'll both get suspended for some absolute lunacy. Matt Rempe would not shock me if he got suspended for taking a run at Tom Wilson after Tom Wilson takes a run at Artemi Panarin. I see this series getting very, very chippy towards the end once the Washington Capitals realize, yeah, our season's about to be over. We really have nothing to lose. Why not? Next up, we got, let me find this. Next up, we got Avalanche. Avalanche don't have enough grit in their bottom 6. Also, Colorado can kiss my grits. I definitely agree that the Winnipeg Jets have more depth than the Colorado Avalanche, but I think Colorado, there's this misconception. I think they have pretty solid depth. I thought they played pretty good. I noticed Ross Colton, Miles Wood, Zach Parise, I think might have been within the top 6, but a lot of their guys like that did show up in that game. I think they did display the overall depth in order to beat a Winnipeg Jets. It's just going to really come down to goaltending. Not saying I'm shocking anybody with that take, but I don't think Colorado's main problem was offensive bottom 6 depth. I think it was more the defense, which gives us another hot take about the Colorado Avalanche. Makar needs to be held accountable defensively. Yeah, I think it wasn't just Makar, obviously, but he did end up having 3 points. But I thought that he wasn't that good defensively, gambling too much. I think he had a couple turnovers that were pretty costly, or at least led to decent chances. I was very disappointed in Colorado's defensive core. Georgiev should have only allowed 4 or 5 goals maybe, but it wasn't just Georgiev. It's not like Georgiev let in 7 soft goals. There was a lot of high danger chances from the Winnipeg Jets, and Cale Makar starts with that. Yes, he can put up absolutely offensive dynamo numbers, and I think 2 of his points were towards the end when the Avalanche were coming back from down 3 goals. That's obviously they're going to be generating a ton of offense, but Cale Makar and Devontae's overall just need to lock in more defensively if Colorado's going to win the series because they're not going to be able to score 7-8 goals a game if they're playing the way that they are defensively, with knowing that they have subpar goaltending. Cale Makar definitely needs to lock in. Next up, Rangers. If the Rangers can get consistent 5-on-5 play from all lines like they did today, they can make the Cup final. I agree with that. If they can get Barclay Goodrow to score 2 points a game, fun fact, he was the only guy to have 2 points in this game, in their game yesterday. So when looking at the Rangers, yeah, that's my number one concern with them. It really was in the regular season at 5-on-5. It was the Panarin, Lafreniere, Trocheck line that really cooked. The rest didn't. So if they can continue to get Zibanejad, Kreider being aggressive, creating chances, the third line, the bottom six that really has not been there this season for them, I think that they're going to have a very, very good chance to beat the Carolina Hurricanes. I'm still picking the Carolina Hurricanes, and I probably would pick the Florida Panthers over the New York Rangers, but the number one concern with me is their 5-on-5 offense. And yesterday, against a lesser opponent, don't get me wrong, I'm not acting like they beat the Carolina Hurricanes in Game 1 with all their lines cooking like that. If they can get consistent 5-on-5 play from their bottom six and Kreider and Zibanejad, I think that they're going to have a very good chance to make the Stanley Cup final. Next up, we got one about Auston Matthews. Auston Matthews does not score a goal in the first round. This is definitely a hot take, considering he just had 69 goals. I think that he's going to get at least one. Would I be shocked if the Leafs lose in 4 or 5 games if he goes absolutely scoreless? No, not at all, considering his prior playoff performances outside of maybe last year's series against Tampa Bay has been pretty ghost in the playoffs. That would be insane if he went scoreless, has that big contract that's going to make him the highest paid player in the entire NHL by $600,000 next season. 69 goals, who gives a crap? He's going to get shat on so much. So for his own well-being, I hope that he scores at least 1 goal. But yeah, maybe I could see. I didn't think that he was that bad in the first game. I think Marner was more so invisible. He's going to score a goal, though. I think that he's going to score a goal. Next up, Avs are cooked. Wasted a rare game where Helly lets up 6. Jets in 5. Yeah, I kind of agree with this. I don't agree with Jets in 5, but when looking at it, if you told the Colorado Avalanche fan that they were going to score 6 goals, they would have thought, oh shit, we won 6-4, 6-3, 1-0 lead on the road. Let's fucking go. The fact that they blew a Hellebuyck game, and he doesn't have this fantastic playoff track record like some other goalies, but he's definitely going to lock in. I can't see him allowing, maybe he'll have another 4-goal game, maybe another 5-goal game, but this is probably going to be the worst that he played all game. And I don't think he played as bad as Georgiev. I think Colorado's offense was more electric, but when looking at it, if Hellebuyck just decides 3 or 4 games to play like the Vezina caliber guy that he is, it's going to be very hard for Colorado to potentially win this series, even if Georgiev plays better and gives them 880, 890 goaltending, which is still pretty bad. I would be very confident if I was a Jets fan. I'm not quite ready to waver in terms of my pick because I think a Nunnan can come in and be a decent starter for them, or Georgiev can play better than a 696 save percentage. But right now, if I was a Jets fan, I would be pretty confident. But yeah, let me know in the comments. What do you think? These are the hot takes. We're probably going to do this after the game 2s or game 3s once teams are up 2-0 or it's tied 1-1. Let me know in the comments what do you think. I'll be seeing you in the next one.